What you're about to see is from Rebel Base, IGN's weekly Star Wars show. It's better than The Phantom Menace. We're going to get even more Poe Dameron very, very soon. The Marvel comics coming out from Charles Soule, who's talked a bit more about it this week. Is this a character that you're interested in learning more about, Chris?
Yeah, definitely, because I think it was a bit of a surprise that he didn't take centre stage as much. I mean, none of it, that was a lot of speculation as who's the lead character in this movie, how much time will everyone get with there being so many characters. But he did seem like, with, the matinee idol good looks and the fact we were hearing he's the new Han Solo, that he would potentially be the lead, and he wasn't. He was
and the movie also throws you, because it begins with him.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, right, pull it out, and then goes MIA,
shifts
literally
a couple
for
of times.
ages.
Yeah, without his jacket. So I'm definitely up for finding out more about him.
Yeah, so there's some really kind of juicy quotes that Charles Soule, great Marvel writer, who also has written, he's currently writing Daredevil as well. He's pitched it as kind of a real genre mashup comic, which I really like, which, I guess the original Star Wars was. It mashed up lots of different genres. He says, I like to think of it as a bunch of different genre movies stacked up one after the other. I've been doing this for a while. Actually, Lando was a heist movie, the other comic he wrote. Obi and Anakin is a post-apocalyptic steampunk western. Poe will be the same, with each arc feeling a bit different. The first story is straight up weird, 70s sci-fi, but there's plenty more to come. A prison story, an espionage tale, lots of great stuff. So it sounds like he's having a lot of fun writing this. And I like, he's kind of a question, he's a character that you can put in lots of different situations, because he's like the crack pilot. He seems like he's been sent on lots of missions, which I think lends itself very well to like an episodic series.
And he's brave and he's funny.
Yeah.
He's got that swagger about him that a lot of the great heroes do have.
Yeah, and that opening sequence when he says to Kylo, how does this work? Do I talk first? Do you talk first? And Kylo Ren isn't the villain to kind of trade verbal blows with him. So I think Soule's recognised that, and he's given him kind of a more appropriate villain. He says the villain is a new character, an intelligence officer in the First Order with some ties to the old Empire. He's a scary guy, a little older, which I think gives him a cool gravitas in much the same way as Peter Cushing delivered as Grand Moff Tarkin. His approach to conflicts is very interesting, and he can be a charmer, so kind of like Poe. And I like this line. I think of him almost like an evil Lando, which I think is very cool.
Yeah, well, some of the best villains are charming, aren't they? Yeah.
And I think that's, if this is going to run this comic, you need someone who's just not going to be just the straight man that Poe is constantly ridiculing. You want someone to go back at him.
And we've not had a lot of that in the Star Wars universe. Certainly not actually, in the films. The villains are pretty straightforward. Well, no, they're not straightforward, but they're not charming. No, you've not got your Magneto kind of as a villain.
But yeah, I'm really excited about this comic. Is there any other characters from The Force Awakens that you'd particularly like to learn more about? And I think that comic would kind of work particularly well for them.
Well, the two obvious ones are Kylo Ren and Rey, but that's going to be what these films are about. So I don't think there's any point in saying those two. But I think beyond Poe, I think Hux and Phasma are obviously two characters that didn't get a huge amount of screen time that people have spoken about before. So it would be interesting to get their backstory.
I think Phasma's the one for me because, such little screen time again. And how has she risen to that position? Yeah. That's one where you can go back and do flashback stuff, and it doesn't feel cheap because you want to know how she ascended to that position.
Yeah. Same with Unka Plut.
Yeah. Just him trading.
How did he ascend to that position?
Yeah.
And what about the blokes from the raid?
What's his economy about?
I want to just see them fighting, because they're in the film, they don't do much fighting.
A whole series called Kanja Club.
Yeah.
And it's like Phoenix Nights, but it's set in Kanja Club, which is basically Space Glasgow.
That's quite a good idea.
Yeah, let's do that. So yeah, those are the comics.
I am interested though in the way that, we're obviously going to get a Star Wars film every year forever now, probably. And in the way that now comic book movies will adapt, a classic storyline from the comics from years ago, Gwen Stacy or whatever have you. I wonder if one day there'll be Star Wars films that actually take some of these plot lines that are being written in the comics and they become films down the line. They won't right now because there's, they're keeping them quite separate and there's a plan with the films. But I wonder if in 20 years' time someone will say, "Oh, I love that Lando one. I've got a vision for that movie."
Yeah, definitely. Especially these are in continuity. And me and Gav talk about this, is I wonder what the actual mechanics are behind the scenes. Because you hire great storytellers in any medium, that's a great thing to do first off. But then comes the logistical nightmare. You don't want the expanded universe to happen again, where things just happen without any planning. And I wonder what the conversation is, like whether there's a character they'd love to seed, and they say to Charles Soule, you do whatever you want, but can you somehow work in this guy? Because he's important for X movie 5 years from now, and it'd be awesome for you to lay the groundwork. I'd be interested to know what those conversations are like. Sound like a nightmare to plan. Probably on Trello, or probably got a Trello for it, or a Google Doc.